I'm just going to read this. Trayshawn Ward totaled 38 yards of offense, including a 13-yard touchdown reception against his former team as Boston College stunned number 10 Florida State 28-13 Monday night. Hey, Joe, I saw your tweet last night. You were like, this was in the second quarter. And you were like, what's up with the Knoll? Are they done? Are they done, Joe?
They've got to be done here. You look at that performance last night, and I still can't believe what we saw. Boston College being able to just dominate over them. And in week 0, Georgia Tech, I think they're completely done out there. I hate to say it. They needed that bounce back last night. I don't understand the gameplay either. I really do think DJU, they should have been allowing him to use his legs more. We know he's a mobile quarterback. He had -5 rushing yards in that game last night.
Well, I'll tell you, let me just go back. I think we were all stunned by what happened in Dublin, the Knolls losing on a walk-off field goal. Then they come home to Tallahassee on a Monday night, and you're thinking this is going to be their game. If they can't show up against Boston College, I can't see how this season is salvageable. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. They cannot start out this season 0-2 and be able to get things back. They were a huge favorite yesterday versus Boston College in week 0. They were a huge favorite over Georgia Tech over in Dublin. This team just can't get it together. Other teams, both of these teams coming out, were able to really dominate that line of scrimmage, especially when you look at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech just killed it in the line of scrimmage over Florida State. And we saw it again last night. Florida State looked a complete mess out there. And I think they're done, Rod. I think the season's over. Might as well not come out to their third game.
Unbelievable. I didn't see that coming. What were your other week 1 takeaways?
You know what? There was so many fantastic games. It was phenomenal. Notre Dame coming into Texas A&M in that hostile environment, able to pull off the upset, was huge. Riley Leonard looked so phenomenally strong out there. I was so impressed by that. You've got to look at Texas and what Quinn Ewers was able to do out there on the field. I was impressed by them as well. Hard matchup this coming week with Michigan. I didn't expect them to show so many of their plays out there, so little surprised by that. We'll see what they bring to Michigan. But then Miami U going into the swamp and beating Florida. I tell you, the way they beat Florida there was so impressive. Cameron Ward, I have so much faith in. I think he's special. I think Miami U has an elite quarterback with him, and it's going to be a great season for them. But going back to Notre Dame, Rod, is anyone going to beat this team this season? You look at that offensive line, the way they were able to open up lanes. I don't think that they lose a game this season. At worst, maybe 11-1 this season, but I think they could go undefeated.
Oh, how about that?
How about that?
Hey, by the way, the biggest Canes fan I know is seated about 15 feet from me, David. He doesn't want to get too excited about Miami going into the swamp and winning. Can he get excited about this Miami Hurricanes team? How good are they, do you think?
You know what? They're going to be the best in the ACC. You look at Cameron Ward, and what he brings as their quarterback is going to be phenomenal. The way they were able to beat Florida, how strong they came out and performed. I really do think this is the year you get so excited about Miami U and what they can bring to the table. I think they make it deep this season, Rob.
This Saturday, the Hurricanes are home to Florida A&M, and the Rattlers quarterback coach is one Henry Burris. Will be in attendance. I can't wait to be there. I did ask the viewers for questions for you. David in Winnipeg writes in, and he says, for Joe, I have a fantasy football draft tonight, and what's the consensus top 3 picks? I feel like it's quarterbacks, but in years past, it's been running back. Do you get into the fantasy football thing, or do you stick with straight betting?
Of course I get into fantasy. Okay. How many fantasy leagues do you want to be in this season, Rod? Because I think I'm in 4 right now. I've got a couple of drafts going off tonight. And here's my strategy when I look at fantasy. So in the first round, I take the best wide receiver or running back on the slate that is left. Second round, I do the same thing. And then in the third round, I take whatever I haven't got. So if I was able to get a wide receiver in the first and second round because they were the best players out there, then in that third round, I'll go after a running back. And if it landed where I got 2 running backs, then I'm going after a wide receiver. 4th round, my quarterback. That's my strategy.
There you go, David in Winnipeg. You hit her with a good one. Randy in Winnipeg says, I don't know any fantasy leagues where a quarterback would be picked in the top 3. McCaffrey, running back, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, top 3, David. But it ain't a fantasy show. Might be a fantasy that the Chargers make the playoffs, though. That's your team. I know that. How many wins
I'm not even dreaming of that.
Jim Harbaugh? Yeah.
I'm not dreaming of the Chargers making the playoffs. There's no way. No way.
You're not? How big of a difference does Jim Harbaugh make at SoFi Stadium, you think, in year 1?
Huge over Brandon Staley, but you look at this team, they've lost weapons. Jim Harbaugh's in a rebuild with this team. You look at Justin Herbert, that plantar fasciitis, Rod, it's a nasty injury. One step back too hard on that heel, and he's going to be feeling that pain out there. The offensive line has never been able to give him time, and while we add Joe Alt out there, he's going to give him some protection, but I just don't trust the Chargers' offensive line. I can't trust their defense, and then you look at Justin Herbert. Who's he going to get that ball to? He's lost weapons out there. Who is going to be his strong wide receiver? I just don't know, Rod. I think it's going to be a hard season. I already took their win total under 8.5.
Ooh. What did they have last year, 5?
Yeah, 5-12 last season. So 8 wins at the most for me. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any best bets? In the National Football League in week 1, like, for instance, Baltimore, Kansas City. Is there any chance the Ravens go in there and win Thursday night?
Oh, absolutely. We look at Kansas City last season, and in that opening game versus the Detroit Lions, the Lions were able to come out and get the win. And I do think the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs, this is a pivotal game because this could come down to, in the playoffs, who's going to get that home field advantage. You know the Baltimore Ravens are ready to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they have every opportunity. So looking at week 1 here, you can get them at plus 128 right now. I can't believe how much this has moved just from yesterday, Rod, or plus the 3 points. And I would take them for both of those. I think they have every opportunity to go into Kansas City and get the win. The Chiefs, so many moving pieces there with this team. And I do think the Ravens have the opportunity to get it done. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be an epic Thursday night kickoff.
Yeah. I think we all are. And let me ask you this. CeeDee Lamb gets the deal done. Trent Williams arrived in San Fran last night, got his deal done. Do you think these guys just wanted to miss camp? I mean, they wanted to get paid too, but funny how it would happen now on the eve of week 1.
Yeah, exactly. You look at these players, and yes, they're just wanting to get out of that extra time on the field. And I don't blame them. The abuse their bodies go through out there on the field. And if they were dealing with management and trying to get the extra money, then hold off. But you've got to look at these players and you got to question, do you want CeeDee Lamb, if you're a Cowboys fan, to be betting any of his props, or do you want him on your fantasy team because he hasn't had those practices, those drills out there? I do think players that miss camp and they're not in preseason, well, there's rust. There really is. They need to be out there on the field. So be careful with your CeeDee Lamb props to start the season. I do think after 3-4 games, he's going to be phenomenally strong out there. We know Dak will get him those long balls, but be careful at first, you guys.
I love it. I think we cracked the lid on something. We could go all day, but I'll let you go, Joe. You're like the busiest in this business that I've seen. I just want to say thanks for what you do and how you do it in a classy fashion, and enjoy the football.
Thanks, Rod. You guys, all the best in football season. It's going to be fantastic. Thanks, Rod.
All right. Talk to you soon. Joe Madden from Sports Grid TV. Give her a follow on Twitter at Joe Madden.